here we go again. Still waiting for parts on that sled. They should be here Monday. But we're having a high RPM bogging issue with this. It'll run up to its proper RPM whenever you pin it, and then as soon as you get off track just a little bit, holding wide open throttle condition, it just starts bogging, drops down to like 7,200, 7,400 RPM. Already checked the reeds. There's no cracked reeds, tethered reeds, or anything wrong with the reeds. Check compression. Compression's right across the mag and the PTO side. So the last things I was coming up, and no fault codes, no issues starting, just a bogging issue on top end. Checked all of our clutches, don't have any broken springs or any issues with primary or secondary clutching. Pulled our plugs. They were a little dirty, but not fouled, but replaced them anyway and checked the condition after that. Still having a bit of an issue there, even after changing plugs. So it wasn't plugs, it's not reeds, it's not compression, it's not clutching. Last couple things I can think of before I start trying to chase down some kind of electrical issue is power valves, dirty injectors, or bad fuel. Went ahead and already dumped all the fuel out of this unit except for maybe like a gallon, because it's hard to get all the fuel out of this tank without actually removing the tank, and I don't want to remove the tank. So now we're going to go through, we're going to clean power valves, clean injectors, and then we're going to put new fuel in it and see if that fixes our condition. If not, we're going to have to start going through and checking some electrical connections and figuring out what's going on. But maybe we'll see something as we dig into it a little deeper. So let's go ahead and get started. To clean power valves on this unit, you're obviously going to have to take the hood off, the tuning pipe off, and we've already done that. Now we're going to need to take off, get our muffler out of the way, get our clutches out of the way, and we're going to get this frame member out of the way, because what we have to do is we need to take off these covers on the side that hold your needle bearings for your power valve, the side portions of your power valve, and then pull out your, basically it's almost like an anchor pin for the guillotine. And then we'll pull the guillotines out and clean them up, check them out. Before we do that, we'll come over here. Once we get the muffler out of the way, we'll come over here, we'll take this loose, we'll roll the power valve actuator drum all the way to the up position so we can get the cables out of their detents. And we'll just check pulling on the cables, seeing if we feel any stiction before we commit to actually pulling the power valves. So that's what we're doing today. Let's get started. Alright, now to get this power valve off, we're going to take these two tins off. And actually I'm going to cut this cable loose. Take that off. Take these two tins off so we can get that cable loose. And that's a Torx 15, looks like. Torx 15 or Torx 10. D20, no way. T20, excuse me. Not even close on the T10 or the T15. It looked a lot smaller, but no, it's just a T20. And pretty much all you're going to do with this cable is we are going to clean up this sealing surface here, but you're just going to set this aside. You're not really doing anything to this. Pull that off. Pull that off. Ew. Pull that off. Just set all this shit aside. We're going to take our T25. It's not really seized. Makes me wonder what's really going on here. I don't see any issues with the bearings. Pliers. And we pull out that pin I was telling you about that kind of anchors it to the two side components. So you'll have your oblong hole here. Just tethers these two pieces on the side to the guillotine. Ooh. More pliers. There you go. That's your guillotine out. This one doesn't look all that bad. This definitely wasn't as stuck as I thought it was, but we're going to go ahead and clean it up off camera. And then I'll be back and we'll show you how to reinstall it. I don't think that other one's going to be an issue. And being as I don't want to be here all night cleaning power valves, I'm going to leave her alone. Don't see any issues with the top of the piston. So we're going to call that good. Alright, we got our power valves cleaned up. Just soak them in gas, use some Scotch-Brite, get them back smooth. Don't waste too much time trying to get the discoloration off. All we're trying to do is get all the carbon off, get our bearings cleaned up. Rest of our valve cleaned up. Got the manual flipped open so we can torque everything. Clean this little bit of schmutz up here. Scraper. We're just going to reuse our seals and O-rings, because this engine wasn't too long from being rebuilt. It's only got 1,100 miles on it since its last rebuild. So, not gonna get crazy replacing gaskets or anything. And I was looking at that crank seal when I took off my reed cages to check out all my reed pedals. I did have some leakage down to this seal, so I don't think that seal's bad. I'm gonna let it ride. Ideally, I probably should pressure check the case, but I don't have a way to do that. Haven't come up with a good way to do that yet. So we're just gonna let her ride how she is. I think you'll be fine. CTEC2 cleaned up. Missed that one spot. Just want to wipe everything down. I don't recommend spraying anything down into your guillotine slides, because all that's going to do is run into your bottom end. So whatever you spray down is just going to run somewhere else. So we're just going to clean the guillotines off best we can and oil them up, stick them back in. I just lubricate them up with a little injection oil. I've seen people put anti-seize on them. I really don't recommend that. Just something about putting abrasive in an engine doesn't really sit right with me. Get that all the way over. We'll slip the pin through your guillotine and go over into your other side of the power valve. Give it a little oil. Get that bearing good and lubricated. Grab that O-ring. Give it some love. Put that cap back on. Feels good. Grab some Loctite and torque wrench. And our side caps. Helps you read it when it's not upside down. Side caps are going to be 55 inch-pounds. Get the seal, a little bit of love. Part numbers, you're going to have a top and a bottom gasket. One's going to be 0930-010, and the other one's going to be 0930-022. I have reused gaskets in a pinch before, but since these are stamped metal gaskets, I really don't recommend doing that if you don't have to. Difference between the two of them is your 022 is going to be your bottom gasket for the bottom of this sandwich plate, and the 010, that's going to be your top, and you'll be able to tell the difference in them by the holes. One's going to have a significantly bigger hole for your dowel locations on the bottom, and the other one's not. Just going to want to make sure the gasket has the indication of up where you can read it. Slide that on there. Now this flat part of your block is going to face back towards the cylinder dome. And just get that located on your dowels. And the other one just lays over top. We're going to wait to put this cover for our valve and our cable on until we do the other side. Good news is, for any reason the rolling block for the power valve on the other side was to move out of phase and you weren't able to get through the guillotine and into the rolling block, you can take a pick down through your main guillotine cutout and line it back up. But typically, as long as you haven't jostled the engine or anything, I've never had any issues. I can't show it on camera because it's such a faint mark, but there's an R with an up indicator, and how they do that's a little misleading because that up is actually going to be facing towards as if the engine was out of the chassis, so it's a little misleading. And then just check for good movement. And what that is that up arrow is going to indicate when the valve is pulled out, or when the valve's pulled up. It should indicate, you know, straight up and down with the cylinder head. It's not going to indicate straight up with the power valve, and that's why I said it's a little misleading. It's going to indicate straight up and down with the spark plugs. Would be a good reference point, I guess. And we'll make sure that rolling block is situated properly, which we are. We're good. So we can go ahead and put our cap back on. A little hole in our cap. Hit with the old pinky action. Grab our O-ring. Give it some love. Get that cap slid on. Just take a little blue Loctite and throw it up on there. And be careful on this side particularly not to drop these two little screws, otherwise they're gone forever. And I don't mean they're gone forever, they're just going to be a bitch to find, so save yourself trouble, don't drop them. And both those again are going to be torqued to 55 inch-pounds, same as the other side. Okay, suppose our valves put back in. Get them matching up on the cover action. Typically when I rebuild these engines, I'll pull this seal out and clean this in gas as well, but since I don't want to replace the seal in this instance, I'm not going to clean it in gas. I'm just going to hit it with the scraper and call it good. Let's get that down flat. Get that one facing up. Alright, we'll go back to, I guess we're here. We'll go ahead and do this one. Slide your spring down. This is a good time just to check, make sure there's no seizing in this cable. I have had a couple times where the cable starts to corrode from the inside out, and that's no bueno. If you have that condition, you're gonna have to replace the cable. The cables aren't super expensive, it's just one more nickel and dime. This sport loves to nickel and dime you to death. Okay, biggest thing here is you want to make sure your threaded side is inboard and your side that's not threaded, so your bolt can slip through, is going to be out facing. And this is another one I don't recommend losing because it'll be a bitch to find if you drop it. And we threw a little bit of Loctite on that one as well. We're also going to throw a little bit of Loctite on both of these bolts as well. Helps if you leave your fucking gasket on. Jeez whiz. Big. Alright, there's all of our power valves cleaned and reinstalled. That's pretty much it to this. Get on to reinstalling the rest of it after I pull the injectors and clean them. Only other thing we'll go over on camera is I typically mark these. I'll mark the shortest one's going to be the farthest forward and the longest cable is going to be the farthest back, but I usually mark them just in case. Just check this one, make sure it feels better. Yeah, it feels way better. Specification on that the cable length, you're going to measure fully retracted as far as it's going to go, and you're going to measure from your flange here all the way down to your cable end. You're not going to measure on the outside of the cable end, you're going to measure on the inside of the cable end. I've already measured these, so I'm not worried about them. Slip your two cables in. And then just rotate your power actuator valve drum all the way back to your starting position when you removed it. That's it. That's pretty much all you got to do on the power valves. I'm not going to show the reassembly of your clutches and everything because I still need to pull injectors on this unit, but that's pretty much all there is to it. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. Thanks for watching.